Hey folks, welcome to Fiddlehed Fiddle Lessons. People often write to me saying that they struggle with getting a good sound. That it sounds scratchy, bow bounces. So my message to you, take heart, because if you notice that the sound could be better, then you're already well on your way to getting there. It's when you don't even know that you sound good that you might not ever sound better. So the next thing to do in the basic practice is to simplify what you're doing. Maybe just a few notes, but really make them sound good. And then after that, to do progressively, but incrementally, small steps, more complex things, more hard things. So that's the basic idea. It's about connecting with a good sound periodically throughout a playing session. So let's go more into it right now. Probably the simplest thing you can do is to just get a good sound on open D string. Use a D drone track. If you're a more advanced player, you may think this is too easy for you, but I challenge you to see how good of a sound you can get on an open string. Maybe a more challenging string for you would be the E string. Maybe though that is really easy for you, then you could pick the fingering that's hardest for you and just do that single note. Like maybe raised third on G is really hard for you. In any event, the main point here is to connect with a good sound and to just enjoy it. Just to feel it in your body almost. It can be physically enjoyable to just have a good sound. And so if you do that, and you are able to do that even on an open D string, you'll start to feel good about your playing. You'll start to feel like, yeah, I can do this. That other thing was, Blackberry Blossom was kind of hard for me, but this, I at least know that I can sound good, and that Blackberry Blossom will someday sound good. That's really the kind of the philosophy I want you to take from this, okay? So in a playing session, no matter how long it is, 20 minutes, hour, 2 hours, take periodic breaks to just get a good sound on an open string. And then through a series of small steps, getting more complex, go back to the hardest thing you were working on that was making you struggle, that made you feel like you weren't really going to make it as a fiddler. So what you could do is that once you get a good sound on open D, you could simply do what's called an interval or two notes, like open to one. If those are easy, those kinds of small intervals are easy for you, then you could start to do bigger jumps, like open to three. Or cross string intervals, like third on D to open to A1. Okay? So then after doing a few two-note exercises, maybe do a four-note exercise or just a scale. So in the case of G major, you could do G major scale. In the case of Blackberry Blossom, it's in G, so you'd want to do the G major scale. And the key is to make that sound good. And if that scale doesn't sound good, then start to pay attention to where it doesn't sound good, and then cut it back and just focus on that part. So maybe maybe a low 2 on A to 3 that 3 is a bit of a stretch for you. It's sounding so you need to spend time there. But again, try to get to the point. It's not going to be perfect probably, but that it starts to sound better. 10% better is a huge win. I call it a small win, but it's actually a really big win. Okay, And so let's say you've gotten the whole scale to sound better. And by the way, a trick for making scale sound better is to play patterns on them, especially longer patterns like tucka. Short, 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 long, long, and do that. That allows you to really get into each note because you have more time on each note. Or you could do like 2 hoedowns in a row. Long, short, short, long, short, short, long, short, short, long. Or 2 triplets in a row. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Whatever you come up with, find a way to stay on that note longer, and you'll kind of get the tuning better and the sound better by doing that. And so let's say you've done that, you've kind of incrementally doing harder things, but maintaining that good sound. Now go and try to do a little bit of the tune you were working on. So I started with Blackberry Blossom, so you could see if you can get the first 4 notes to sound good. And maybe you notice that's pretty good, but I could get it better. Then you loop on it. But maybe you still having some kind of difficulty. Another trick you could do is to add a pattern or simply to just double each note. I find that anything you do where you're kind of playing double notes is easier, and there's probably a good reason why, but that's another nice practice tip that you can apply to anything. If you're learning a tune, you're not even focusing on sound, it's really good on scales too, just double notes. So say you got that to sound good, then maybe you do a bigger phrase. Maybe you have to break down the end of that, do that a little bit till that sounds good. So I hope you're starting to see the process. It takes a bit of patience, but what you'll find is that you get an almost immediate reward, because if you really don't rush through a tune in this way and you make each little thing start to sound good, it's going to actually feel good in your body. And then you won't need to discipline yourself to practice and play. Then you'll just be like, yeah, I really enjoy playing music because it sounds good. And that's what the goal of this whole practice that I want you to take away from it. And really, any level musician could benefit from it. Again, I think more advanced players might just be like, oh, this is boring. But I think that anybody could. I sometimes need to do this too. I mean, not sometimes. Almost every practice session, I'll find that I'm speeding up too much and it's starting to sound crappy. And so I just have to pause and kind of just do the same thing. Connect with the sound, slow that thing down. Another way to look at it is simply slow down. It's another thing you can just hold in your hand, practice tip you can hold in your hand. All right, and so anyway, let's go back to our tune. You've made that sound good, and if you make 1/4 of a tune sound good, then the rest will be fine. All right, or at least better. So then you'd move on and do the next thing. And make that sound good. And yeah, you may not need to go through the whole tune with that meticulous of a process. I often find with in-person lessons with people that if we really dive deep into 1/4 of the tune, the first quarter often, then the rest, it's kind of like unlocking a new level in the video game. The rest of the tune kind of flows a little bit more easily.
Excellent!
Cool, thanks for watching. If you found this video to be useful, fun, anything else positive to you, then please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you can hear about new lessons when they're published. Thanks much for watching these. I appreciate all your feedback. doing my best to respond to you all, and apologies if it takes me a while. And that's it. See you down the line. Go to fiddlehed.com for a progressive, step-by-step course outline, color-coded tabs, play-along tracks, sheet music, and much more. Thanks for watching the video. Excellent! And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.